Another one that's worth mentioning here is this meaningful, thoughtful commentary. We all have this terrible habit of being like, great post, nice picture, right? I hate this. I think this is useless. I don't think it adds much value. It's kind of like, I feel like people that create content feel like you're jumping on there to get the exposure and or try to set me up to sell me something. So I feel like meaningful commentary will lead you to DMs that actually get responses. That's always the way I feel.
100%. No, I agree. I mean, it's kind of LinkedIn is a long game, right? Like the phone and email are always going to be a lot quicker to actually get a meeting, but LinkedIn is a long game. So if you have people and high value prospects you're going after, putting in a little bit of extra effort to make those thoughtful, meaningful comments over time, it'll add up eventually. And then when you do call them, when you do hit them on email, they're going to be much more likely to want to respond to you when that time comes.
We got some good questions coming in already. There are already 11 questions in the Q&A. Let's go ahead and tackle this one. Do you guys, this is from Michael Hernandez, do you guys personalize messaging in your connection requests?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah, it's worth the time. If you, okay, so when I became a manager, so I was an outbound SDR for 2 years at Lessonly, and then had the pleasure of managing that team for a little bit over a year. As soon as I jumped into the manager seat, and Jed, I don't know if you have this experience, I got a flood of LinkedIn connection requests, but all of them were exactly the same, or none of them actually had anything to do with me. It was clearly like a copy paste. And whenever I got someone, and this is maybe like 10% of the time, which sounds really low, but true. They actually personalized it and they would say like, hey, congrats on the promotion, or, oh, I noticed you did XYZ as an SDR, like so cool, or wow, Leslie just raised funding. They would say something meaningful and then I would actually respond because I know like you took the time. So now as an AE, like I can slow down a little bit and personalize those messages because I know it'll stick out.
Good call, Jed. What are your thoughts?
It's a hot topic, right?
Woo!
I know there's lots
even the chat is feeling crispy right now.
I think I see it both ways. I think it depends on the accounts because I completely agree with Lauren's point, right? And I think that's the approach I definitely take for the more like high value accounts in a sense. But when you're doing like a little bit more high volume prospecting, I do like to send blank connection requests just because they tend to get accepted more. Like if you have a nice profile picture, your LinkedIn looks clean, you don't look like you're someone trying to spam or sell them. What is the thing? Lead generation, whatever. Yeah. Then usually they're going to want to accept your connection request. And the goal is just to get an exception so you can start sending messages instead of emails. So that's one way. I mean, another thing is just simply like, if I shot somebody an email or left them a voicemail, it's just like, hey, James, just wanted to put a face to the name. I sent you an email, subject line XYZ. Like that's a really simple one you can do as well. But I also like Lauren's point because it's true. It's a lot of the same messages out there. So if you can find something simple, like I've had people reach out to me and make a joke about my last name and relating it to Bob Marley or whatever. And it's like, whatever, it's stupid, but it like shows you're human in a sense. And so I think the end goal you should have in mind is you want to get the connection, whatever's going to lead to the highest connection accept percentage. So you can start sending those messages. That's what you want to go with.
It's a great point. Because then like, I mean, the end goal is if you're not connecting with them, it's hard to start a conversation.
Right.
So, or you can't even send like the videos or anything. So
how do you handle prospects that don't have much information and don't post very much when you're looking for that content to engage with?
I saw that question. I love that question. So at Lessonly, we had a couple different personas we're reaching out to, and salespeople tend to like to post a lot. So they post a little bit more than the average, but we also reached out to customer service leaders, and they didn't tend to post as much. So we would run into the same thing. We're like, what am I supposed to engage with if there's nothing to engage with? You don't have to necessarily use like what they're doing. And we mentioned earlier, like go to where the prospects are. Like if they're not big on LinkedIn, maybe look at some of their peers and like what they're saying about their company or what the company's posting about, and then use that in the method of outreach somewhere else. Like if they're not necessarily like really big LinkedIn warriors, like you don't have to try to force that to happen if they don't look like they're really engaging there. I don't know if Jed and James, you have a different opinion, but I think go to where your prospects are.
I mean, I agree, right? Like you're in a sense, personally, and this might be a hot topic, I think you're wasting your time if they're just never active on LinkedIn. They haven't even updated their profile picture in 10, 15 years. It's like, what are you doing? They're not going to respond there. You need to, it helps you save time actually, because it's like, okay, I know I don't have to waste time on LinkedIn here. Sure, I can find some information. Like Lauren said, I'm going to go to people around in the company, But when I'm prospecting them, it's all email and phone. And you don't have to waste time on LinkedIn, but those are just my thoughts.
So my initial thought is to use that as my opener when I do that initial email out, is to say, I usually find a lot about people on LinkedIn, but you're not very active there. So that means we should actually connect and have a conversation.
I love that.
I don't have an ask there. I'm making a statement that says, I've looked at you and I know nothing about you based on what's out there. So we should actually talk. It's, hit or miss whether or not they respond to that, but it's a great way to show them, I'm looking for you. I'm looking at you. I want to learn about you. How do you avoid the pitch slap after somebody connects with you?
You just don't first. So it's like I said,
don't.
No, but I get what they're saying. It goes back to what I said earlier, which is like, just try to make some sort of connection with them, find something that's genuinely interesting. Like a really easy example, if you're an AE or an SDR who wants to get promoted, maybe they're a leader who kind of you can see like, hey, you moved up the ranks really fast. That's awesome. Like, I want to be connected. And that's genuine, right? Like, don't try to fake it. And then leave it, let it simmer, right? And then you can maybe come back 2 days later or engage with some of their content. And one thing I like to do that's kind of a quick intro into starting that conversation is, hey, just curious, what are y'all doing for X? It's just a quick question, and sometimes they won't respond. But the other thing as well is that my angle isn't to get those meetings off of LinkedIn every time. It's usually to warm up email and the phone. But the simple answer is start with something that's genuine, a quick message, and then come back to it later.
It all goes back to relevance, right? So why are you even reaching out to them in the first place? What is something that triggered you to like connect with them? Why them specifically? So for example, if you saw their company's hiring a bunch, they're growing, they raised funding, you can say, hey, Jed, just want to reach out, say congrats on the recent round of funding. Love to see that your company is growing a ton. This is amazing, rooting for your team. And then when they're like, oh, thanks so much, you can be like, yeah, like, with a ton of growth like that comes a lot of hiring and like onboarding you need to do. So kind of, you can like string it together to make it relevant, just sort of lead the conversation gently into what you want to talk about. But I think just going back to like, why are you reaching out to them in the first place? Like, what is it about them and why right now? Why them? Why now?
Yeah. Why you now, right? That's the old Jeff Hoffman, John Barrows, combo, right? We've been using that for a long time. Why you now? It works really well.
At this point, it's like, it's an immediate, like, delete the DM or just completely ignore it. Like, it doesn't even, I don't know anybody who's falling for that anymore. So I feel like if you're still doing it, it should be a wake up call. Cause I can't think of a single person who actually still falls for that. And I like Lauren's response. If a robot could say it, don't say it. I mean, it is true. That time is better spent on, doing email, phone, other types of outreach than trying to automate generic LinkedIn messages. Cause it honestly could probably hurt you more than it's going to help. When eventually you do catch them on a different channel.
I have to say, I know if you're sitting here thinking like, hey, I have activity metrics I need to hit, like I've got quota with that, like I need to just shoot messages out there, then I think just talk to your manager, be like, hey, I watch this webinar. If you're sitting here, you're obviously trying to grow and learn. So be like, hey, I have something that I really think could help our team. Can I A/B test slowing down a little bit, sending some personalized messages out for the next month? Like, let me test this out. So if you're like, I don't have time to slow down, talk to your manager about it. Be like, can I A/B test? I mean, if you're an SDR, there's death, taxes, and A/B testing. So it's going to come at some point in this role. Like,
Lauren had all the fire quotes.
Yeah.
That is tweetable right there. I'm giving it to you guys right now. Death, taxes, and A/B testing.
You have to grow somehow.
Tweet that shit. That's so good. I love that. All right, cool. Jed, you're a writer. Talk to me about the value of great copy.
Yes. I said it earlier, where if you kind of put in the effort of trying to build a personal brand, consistently creating content on LinkedIn, it will honestly, when you reach out to people through LinkedIn DMs, people are going to respond a lot more. And all that starts with good copywriting. And additionally, we're talking about robots, we're talking about automation. A lot of this simple stuff, like the simple email templates, things of that nature, is going to get more and more automated, whether we like it or not, with more email AI, things of that nature. So if you're in sales, if you're in SaaS sales, especially, you hear this all the time, but being a good copywriter and learning how to write good copy is just getting more and more important as the years go on in SaaS sales. And so I think it's definitely something you should start working on. I mean, it really just starts with writing consistently. There's tons of great books out there, or just putting in a daily practice of trying to write on LinkedIn, whether you get engagement or not, it's going to help you with copywriting. But 5-10 years down the line, it's going to be way more important than it is today, and just continues to go like that. But yeah, I think it's a crucial skill for sure.
Well, Jed, I just put your newsletter in the chat for everybody. I didn't tell you I was going to do it, but I did it anyway. So everybody needs to sign up for Jed's newsletter. It's dope. Lauren, writing is obviously something that anybody that's creating content, anyone that's on the career path, they should polish that. Anything you want to add about how writing and really dialing in your writing voice has helped you?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. When I started in this role, not in this role, but before I joined tech, I was a recruiter and I was just on the phone all day. So jumping into an SDR position was really hard for me to get good at writing, but just over time, don't overthink it. You have to start sending things out, and that will come with time. So try things your teammates are doing that you like. Don't be afraid to copy paste some things other people are saying on your team. Just use what they're using, and over time, you'll figure out what works best for you. But I think the most successful SDRs, they're authentic to them too. So if something feels right to them, they start doing it, and they want to test something out. People can recognize authentic, right? Like we just talked about, like not sounding like a robot. So if something feels good to you, just try it out. I think over time it'll happen, but be patient. Don't overthink it. You have to get going somewhere.
Yeah. And it's your authentic voice, right? That's the thing to keep in mind.